built to win. Applied myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse, bond, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me, like told me, keep on running toes, they gon' take them. Refuse to lose, built to win. Applied myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dave's Doghouse, episode 45. Just a quick little celebration. Last episode, I reached 100 subscribers, so shout out to y'all for subscribing to the show. Definitely was a great milestone to hit so far. We are on the verge of hitting 1,000 subscribers, so definitely appreciate that. Today's going to be pretty much not a newer but an older format of how I used to do the show. So that just hope y'all bear with me and just want to know how I like things. Before we get started, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Also hit that notification button so whenever a video uploads or short or anything, you get the notification as soon as it happens. And yeah, man, there's some stuff that's going to be happening possibly in January where TikTok might be banned. So I'm getting everything out there as quick as I can now, especially on Instagram and Twitter. So if you follow me on those, then you're definitely good to go. But other than that, man, I'm excited about today's show. Got no one's coming out of the doghouse. No dishonorable mentions, no honorable mentions. Just the doghouse, the dogs, and whoever is the dog of the week is what we're going to go over today. So yeah, shout out to CTC who had a show just a while ago with Joe and Ace. Definitely an awesome, great show talking about the championship games in college football. We got some tonight and we got some tomorrow, of course. So make sure you tune into those games and go watch that show. He also has a show happening this Sunday. I believe it starts at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talking about the selection committee, because they're going to show all the selections from the college football playoff first year at 12 teams. Definitely still feel like they screwed over University of Miami, so gotta deal with that. But other than that, hope y'all are having a great day. Hope you enjoy your weekend and everything. Definitely can't wait to see how everything happens between the rest of that. But let's go ahead and get started with today's show. And like I said, we have the puppy chow happening now. We have some people that we need to talk about and some people that deserve to be in the doghouse. Some people probably should have been in the doghouse. And you may question one of these doghouse people because of how they've been the last 3 games. But then again, you'll have to let me know how you feel in the comment section. So, and that also helps me to figure out who deserve to be and who doesn't. So if you have someone that you feel like should be in the doghouse, put it in the comment section. You feel like you have somebody that should have been a dog, put it in the comment section. Just honorable mention, whoever is in the doghouse you think should be out, make a case to me. You can put it in the comment section or you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll give that to you at the end of today's show. So first of all, quarterback got drafted by the Washington Redskins at that time. Most recently played for the Minnesota Vikings. He's been known for getting guaranteed contracts, and I can't put one of these comments up there, but I definitely feel you. Definitely, Sister Boots. I should have known I was going to see that one. Of course, my man Ty. Shout out to Miami Heat Zone and my guy TYP. But this team, well, this quarterback, as I said, got drafted by the Redskins, then played for the Minnesota Vikings. Now is playing for the Atlanta Falcons, has another guaranteed contract, and now all of a sudden it's almost guaranteed that they may slip and lose their lead in their division right now. And even though they're 6-6, they're on a 3-game losing streak. And it's because this guy has not played well in the last 3 games, and that is Kirk Cousins. Some people like to call him Kirk O'Chains, but he ain't getting that name today. Call him Kirk Frozen, because that's what he's been playing. He's been playing cold as ice these last 3 games. Now, before these last 3 games, he threw 7 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the 4 games before that. In these last 3 games, with someone who's guaranteed $84 million with this contract, now all of a sudden, I'm getting a lot of Zions. I guess I know who's going to be on the doghouse next week. All right, y'all done made y'all cases, man. So I'm here to please the fans. I'm here to please the fans and also give my take on things. So tune into next week, episode 46. You'll see what's going on with Zion next week. Kirk Cousins has thrown 6 interceptions in the last 3 games and 0 touchdowns. 0 touchdowns. And an Atlanta team that had opportunities to win 3 games. And it's just they were on the road, played against the Saints in Denver, and then they were at home against the Falcons, and they've lost all 3 games. They got totally obliterated in these last 3 games. His completion percentage has even dropped in the last 3 games. It's been no more than 66% in the last 3 games. Before then, he was throwing at least 70%, but now it's dropped down to at least 60% or less. And it's only been 66% in 1 game. 1 game, y'all. That's it. Just 1 game for Kirk Cousins, 66%. Now, the last 5 games, you could put it 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, but what did I just say? He hasn't thrown any touchdowns in the last 3 games. So those the 2 games prior where he threw for 7 touchdowns in 2 games. Against Tampa Bay, he threw for 4 games. He threw for 4 touchdowns. They won that game. Then against Dallas, he threw for 3 touchdowns. They won that game, but then lost 3 straight. They were 6-3 and now have lost 3 straight. Kirk Cousins has been absolutely abysmal. The last 3 games, his passer rating has dropped in every single game. We're from 75 to 69 to 40. So his QBR hasn't been good the last few games. If his freaking passer rating hasn't even reached 90 at least. And before that, the last 2 games before that, it was at least 144. He had 144 and 145 in the 2 games prior to this 3-game losing streak. And now, because of that, it's a total of 90 in the last 5 games. Kirk Cousins has played like trash. And then on my fantasy team, yes, I got to talk about it. I understand that fantasy doesn't matter for football players, but look, it matters to me right now. Fantasy team, I got a measly 3 points from him last week because he threw for 4 interceptions against the Chargers. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Kirk Cousins, you are the first person to be put in the doghouse for this week for episode 45. So do your best to enjoy some puppy chow. Welcome to the doghouse. Kirk Cousins. My guy, you in the doghouse. It's just ridiculous how bad he has been this year. This next team is also in the NFL, and it's actually a high-power offense in the NFL. But even after that, it don't seem like it's not leading to winning. So you're able to get all these points, all these yards, and everything, but for some reason, it's not helping you in the win column. You have a quarterback that was in the Super Bowl within the last 5 years, and a wide receiver who's leading the league in pass and receiving yards this year. He's the best wide receiver this year. He's been the most consistent, and he's balled out this year, especially if he plays against the Ravens. But it's got to be talked about because it seems like it's been glossed over by some media outlets or some, ESPN ain't talking about it that much or anyone else. So I'm gonna talk about it here, and it's the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are 2-4 in games when they score 33 plus points. 33 plus points. That means they are allowing teams to score over 33 plus points in these games that they are playing in. Against Washington, when they put up 30 plus, Washington put up 45. Against the Steelers, just recently, another game they just played in, they allowed Steelers to put up 40 points. I'm not sure what's up. I'm not sure what's up with this team, but they just can't stop anybody. They have 2 games where they scored 38 plus points that they lost this year. 6 was 25 plus this year that they've scored, that they've lost. 4 were 33 plus, and 3 were 34 plus. So it doesn't matter how fired this offense is. This defense can't stop a nosebleed. They just can't beat anybody. They are one of the worst teams in the NFL on defense this year because they just can't stop anybody from scoring. And you hear about some of the players that get, Trey Henderson is one of their best players that they have this year, but it's not him alone. It's not helping them this year at all when it comes to anything because of how bad this team is. They are so bad. They're 27th in yards allowed this year. Passing defense, also abysmal. 27th, allowing 241 yards in passing this year. And rushing, also bad. Almost allowing 130 yards on the ground this year. Just you're not going to be able to win that way. And I just talked about the points. They have the 3rd worst defense in points allowed this year. They are allowing teams to score 28.3 points per game on them this year. This defense is trash. Oh, my goodness. I don't know what they need to do to improve this defense. Maybe they need a new defensive coordinator. Maybe they need to add some more pieces when it comes to the draft or make some trades or something in the offseason. But this defense absolutely sucks. They can't stop anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be the Jets, the Bengals. It could be, the 49ers who are only scoring 10 points a game right now. They may even allow them to allow us to put up 35 on them. Like, who knows exactly how this team is going to be next year. And Joe Burrow has said that, hey, they need to make some changes this offseason. And I agree with them. They need to make some changes because this team is not going to help you win any games this year, especially with that. I mean, you might as well say they're eliminated from playoffs. They're not going to the playoffs this year. It's not happening. But you wasted Jamar Chase's contract season. You wasted a year for Joe Burrow. You wasted a year for T. Higgins, who's pretty much gone after this year. Tyler Boyd is gone. Then you lose Joe Mixon to the Texans. And the offense is not what's missed the most. It's the defense. So until they make some changes on the defense or find something to where they can stop some teams and during the rest of this, the last few weeks of the season, or if they can make some changes in the offseason, the Bengals, this is where you're going to be. You're going to be in the doghouse. So, again, it's the doghouse. We only serve puppy chow here. And as many people as in here, it's not allowed to go around. So, Bengals, even though you're cats, you're in the doghouse for now. So, Instead of being able to roam around in the house like you want to, you're in a doghouse with a whole bunch of other people, was filthy and nasty in there. You barely got any water in there. So, I mean, y'all got to fend for yourselves. So it's either you fend for yourself here or do something different so you can get better in the next lot. So welcome to the doghouse, Cincinnati Bengals. Until next time, this is where you're going to be. My guy, you in the doghouse. All right, this very next player. And you can see a theme. There's a lot of football involved right now. This is kind of sort of how it's just going to go today. I have some other ones that are involved that are not just football, but this is very football centric today. This person was once considered the best kicker in the league and considered the greatest kicker of all time at one point. So much so that in his rookie season, 2012, not too many people remember that, but in 2012, undrafted out of Texas, he wasn't even drafted. He became a Super Bowl champion that year with the Baltimore Ravens. Beat them out 49ers in the Super Bowl. And that year, he didn't miss a single extra point that season. 34 of 37 on field goals, 90.9% from the field as a kicker. That is awesome. Those are great numbers. Guess what his percentage is this year? And I'm talking about Justin Tucker. His percentage this year is 70.3% on field goals this season. He has missed more than he ever has in his career. And honestly, if you look at the last 4 seasons, it's dropped every single year. His accuracy seems to be off. It seems to be very, very, very off right now. So, Justin Tucker, I don't know what's up, man. I asked the question, what happened to you? And I know it's not just you. Other kickers are playing bad, but you have the worst percentage in the league this year. If you were, and this is coming from one of your fans, if Tucker wasn't your name, you would have been replaced by now. You know how many kickers have been cut this year for being bad? You're the worst in the league. And it's against a team that's 8-5, and that could probably be, it might be undefeated. You know, the Ravens in their 5 losses combined this year, it was a total of 22 points missed. Guess who those 22 points belong to? Justin Tucker. Against the Eagles this past Sunday in a marquee game to where they only lost the game by a few points. They could have won if he made everything. He missed 2 field goals and an extra point in that game. That's 7 points right there. With 7 points added from what the Ravens had put up, I believe they lost 24-19. You win that game at least by 2 points. But no, you lost because he was absolutely terrible in that game. So Justin Tucker, I don't think it comes to any surprise that you are here. And there's some quotes that were said from you and from a former AFC coach. So you said after the Steelers loss that the field was not ideal. You missed 2 field goals in that game. Sounds like an excuse to me. Rex Ryan also said, just like the fan here, that if it wasn't for your name, you would have been cut right now. You're a Hall of Fame kicker. That's where you're gonna be. But 5 weeks ago, if you were someone else, you would have been gone. You would have been a free agent right now, or maybe someone's backup kicker because of injury. But right now, your kicking is absolutely horrendous, Justin Tucker. So I don't know what you got to do to get better. maybe you got to work on your accuracy this offseason or what. Or during practice. I can't even say it's awesome because you're 8-5. It's not like you're gonna miss the playoffs, but you got to get yourself together because your team wants to make it to the Super Bowl. You know, you're already a Super Bowl champion. You already a Super Bowl champion. You were there in 2012 when y'all won it all. So you already got that on your belt. There's something that you got to do to help this team this year because you've been losing them games this year. So it has not been just you, but you've played a major part in these losses, sir. So Justin Tucker, as I told the other two, you are also a part of this group, which is why you have that look on your face right now. So welcome to the doghouse. My guy, you in the doghouse. All right. Next up, we got another one for the doghouse, which also happens to be in the NFL. And I'm very familiar with this guy. Very familiar with this guy. Former defensive line coach, now defensive coordinator. Now he's replaced 3 really good defensive coordinators from the last 2 seasons from this team, who was recently in the Super Bowl, who's been in the Super Bowl twice in the last 5 years. You've shown really bad signs of a bad defense, even though you have had some injuries on defense. So I do kind of sort of give you a pass when it comes to that. But even with that, the scheme hasn't worked out. There's been a lot of communication issues, bad tackling, inconsistent against the run and the pass this year, lack of player development. And that is you, Nick Sorensen, the 49ers' new defensive coordinator this year. You have replaced 3 guys who I think, without a doubt, are better defensive coordinators than you are. You got Robert Saleh, you had D'Amico Ryans, and then you had a defensive coordinator last year whose name I can't remember for some reason right now. But you are a part of a team with the injuries. Don't get me wrong. You do have Kevin Gibbons out for the year. You have Javon Hargrave out for the year. Dre Greenlaw might be making his debut now, but he's been out for a majority of the year. Tyler Norfunga, who's only played in 1 game this year, he's been out. Charvarius Ward has missed 3 games this year, 1 due to injury, 2 due to the loss of the death of his daughter. So again, Charvarius Ward, Mooney, definitely prayers to you and your family. Steve Wilks, that's what it was. Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks is the defensive coordinator from last year. We were at least top 5 with him, and now we're bottom 25th. We're bottom 20th in the league now. Ridiculous. Nick Sorensen, I don't see why you should have a job next year. I really don't. Diamador Lenore, you have on your team. He's good. You know, Fred Warner is there. We had Alakadet. Bosa has missed some games this year as well. It's up in the air if he even plays on Sunday. So you got that going for him. I don't know. I don't know what's up with what you have to do to get this team together, but it's not working right now. It's not working right now. Like I said, poor production, lack of creativity, scheme breakdowns, absolutely terrible. Communication miscues, bad tackling, not good on 3rd downs or in the red zone, and inconsistent against the run and the pass, and lack of player development. This is points per game we've given up in the 4th quarter from this year compared to last year. Last year, number 1 overall in the 4th quarter. We only allowed 3.7 points per game in the 4th quarter last year, which was the best defense in the league last year, statistically. Well, yeah, we were 1, the Ravens were 2nd, and the Browns were 3rd. This year, we're allowing almost 9 points per game in the 4th quarter, which is 27th in the league. That's 35.2 points per game over 4 quarters. 35. That's terrible. These other numbers don't really matter, but we're just the fourth quarter, it just drops every single quarter. Defensive EPA per play in the first quarter is 4. Rush defense is 3rd. And passing defense is 9th. So it's at least top 10. But when we get to the fourth quarter, it's 28th for defensive EPA, 23rd for run defense EPA, and 28th for pass defense EPA. So the fourth quarter is the worst. It's not like you don't have opportunities to be able to stop them in the first, second, and third quarter because you have these opportunities, but it's not working for you in clutch time. The 3 games we've lost this year in our division alone, we've had fourth quarter leads with at least 2 minutes to go. All 3 games we've lost. And it's because of poor tackling, poor schemes. Coverage has been absolutely terrible. It's like whoever it is as a wide receiver, just run to the middle of the field or run to the out. Doesn't matter. Just run. And you're going to get open. Or runners defense because they're not going to be able to stop you. Steve Wilkes was getting a lot of heat last year and then ended up getting fired. And I feel like he was scapegoated. We had a top 5 defense with Steve Wilkes last year, and now all of a sudden we're not even top 10, not even top 15. Nick Sorensen does not need to be there next year. I understand he was an in-house hire, but he should, if he stays, he needs to go back to defensive line, and we need to go get Robert Saleh back. Because if you look at how the Packers defense been since he went back over there, other than last night, it's been a lot better. And if you look at the Jets defense when he left, it's been a lot worse. So all I'm saying is Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, he should not be there next year unless he's the defensive lines coach. Nick Sorensen, you're in the doghouse. My guy, you in the doghouse. Last but not least, for the doghouse, I got one last person that I got to talk about. Well, one last team. And it's going to be simple. It's the only basketball team I have here to talk about. And it's a team that was one of the best in the West last year. Made it to the Western Conference Finals. Almost got to the NBA championship. You know, they didn't do that in the KG years, didn't do it in the Kevin Love years. So you had a team with the opportunity to make it to the NBA Finals with Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert, and Karl-Anthony Towns, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now you say, hey, Dave, you know, look, the last 3 games, they won the last 3 games. Yeah, I know they won the last 3 games. But this ain't about just the last 3 games. This is about how they played most recently and against winning teams. Against winning teams last year, the Minnesota Timberwolves were not very good. Let's be honest about it. They've played. Well, Sacramento is probably the only team that doesn't count, but they played against Sacramento, lost that game, 114-104. Against the Houston Rockets, second best team in the West so far this year, lost 117-111. Against the Boston Celtics, you lose 107-105. Against the Toronto Raptors, you lose 110-105. And then against Portland, the Portland Trailblazers, you lost 106-98. The best win you've had out of these last 10 games was against the Phoenix Suns. What's going on in Minnesota? You know what the deal is? It's what the comment says. You should have kept Karl-Anthony Towns. The swap you had for Julius Randle and Karl-Anthony Towns did not make sense. It made sense for New York because now they got someone else who can score and help defensively as well. Not saying he's one of the best defenders in the league, but he's not absolutely terrible. He makes some awkward plays sometimes, but he can score. And if you look at New York, this New York team is actually really good. It's better than they were last year. Now, I know they made some other changes, getting Mikal Bridges on the team. But this team is better. This team is better than Minnesota right now. And Minnesota does not look good. Anthony Edwards said that these guys are playing selfish. They're not really in there playing for each other. People doing their own thing. And you're supposed to be the face of the league. What's going on with you, man? You're the leader of this team. You're the leader of this team. Some people are comparing you. They compared you to Mike. They compared you to D Wade. They compared you to Kobe. Well, Kobe, Mike, and D Wade are those guys that won't let their teams be in this position unless the team surrounded by them is absolutely horrendous. And the team surrounded by you is naturally not that bad. I mean, I just said that team was one of the best teams in the West last year. You had the second best record in the league last year. OKC was 1, but you were right there. You were 2. Now y'all are struggling to win games, struggling to be good teams, and you're supposed to be one of the best in the league. You started off hot, and then you lost 7 or 9 games, and then you won the last 3. But before that, you lost 7 of your last 9 games. You will impress me when you start to get when you get a winning streak against good teams. That's when you can get out of the doghouse. That is my thing towards you. Nick Sorensen, your defense just got to be better the last 4 weeks of the season. We are 5-7 right now, and we pretty much have to win out. We got obliterated the last 2 games against the Packers and the Bills, only putting up 20 points and allowing them to score 73 points on us in the last 2 games. So, Minnesota, your defense needs to get better. Julius Randle plays no defense, so I can't help you there. But defense got to get better, and your team got to be better. So, welcome to the doghouse, Minnesota Timberwolves. My guy, you in the doghouse. Okay, now we are done with the doghouse. Now it's time to talk about the dogs and then the big dog of the week. I got 4 candidates to be the dog of the week, and we'll pretty much go ahead and talk about them now. There's one team. It's one team in the NFC. One of the hottest teams in the NFC. And no, I'm not talking about the Detroit Lions, who won last night in a nice rivalry game against the Green Bay Packers. They won last night. So, no, not talking about them. I'm talking about the other team in the NFC. The team in the NFC East that's winning, that's leading the division right now. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's face it. They are one of the best teams in the league. They have the best defense in the league. This is the turnaround from last year to this year for the Philadelphia Eagles. Just their defense. Last year, they were 26th in yards per game, 25th in yards per play, 30th in third down percentage, 30th in red zone percentage, 24th in sacks, and 28th in points per game. That was just their defense last year. This year, first in yards per game, second in yards per play, second and third down percentage, 5th in red zone touchdown percentage, 7th in sacks, and 4th in points per game. They're only allowing 18.2 points per game this season. Last year, they were allowing almost 24 points per game. They also have some young talent on this team that's helping this team out. You got Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Collar, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Hunt, Jordan Davis. You got Quinyon Mitchell. I may have said his name already, but you got young players on this team that's going to be here for a good little while to help this team continue to be where they are right now. And the Eagles have won 8 straight games. They've won 8 straight games. They haven't lost a game since before the bye week. They had their bye week in week 5 and have won a game ever since then. 8-0. And people want to say, well, who did they play? Well, they played against the team that was top in the division at first, the Washington Commanders. I get it. They also haven't beaten a good team this year for real, so I understand it. But they went and beat the Baltimore Ravens this past Sunday, and we know how great the Ravens are. And the Ravens don't lose a lot of games, especially in the NFC. They gave Lamar Jackson his second loss all time against the NFC. The only other team they lost to was the Giants. Who was on that team? Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley didn't even go crazy in this game. He broke off for a 25-yard touchdown, but it wasn't huge. But like I said, the Eagles are also another reason why Justin Tucker is in the doghouse. 7 points just in that game alone that he accounted for them not having. And this is without Devontae Smith playing in the game, one of their second best wide receiver, or their best, depending on who you talk to. A.J. Brown was in the game. Dallas Goedert played, but, it wasn't a perfect offensive game, but defense stepped up. Defense really stepped up in that game. Zay Flowers did not go off in that game, nor did, it's Nelson Aguilar. I'm not expecting him to go off. The other wide receiver was hurt. It wasn't much really happening, and the Ravens had chances to take this game. It just didn't happen. But the Eagles defense also made plays when they needed to. Derrick Henry didn't have a breakout run. And that's what the thing. You don't need to stop him, but you got to contain him enough to where you don't allow him to have these 8, 10, 15, 20-yard runs. You don't want this to happen, and they pretty much contained that. And that was almost the same thing for Saquon until that touchdown that he had. But other than that, they played a pretty good game on him. And the Eagles now are, like I said, second best team in the NFC, 10-2. Some people may say they're the best team in the NFC, but hey, that's not for me to say. But they are right there. They are right there. And they just have a few games left to play to see exactly where they end up at. But this team they're knocking on the door. They're knocking on the door to the Lions and say, hey, we right here. We're close. And like I said, 8-game win streak. They dogs. So welcome to the dog, Philly. All right, next up, he's leading the MVP race right now. One of the best teams in the AFC, second best team record-wise in the AFC. We know that the Chiefs somehow just can't lose against anybody. I mean, unless it's the Bills. The Bills are the only team to beat them this year. So you got that going for him. And then in the last game, Josh Allen was the first quarterback in NFL history to have a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. Even though 2 years ago, Christian McCaffrey did it, but he's a running back. He's not a quarterback. Josh Allen did that. Now, if you look at his totals of his numbers and everything, that's kind of not the reason why he's here. It's not here because of numbers. He's here because of where his team is in position in. And he's the guy leading this team right now. No one else on this team is really going crazy. I understand that their rushing has gotten better. Their defense has actually gotten better, even with the injuries they had. Matt Milano's back. He came back last week to play against the 49ers. And, I mean, you saw what happened in that game. And they've won the last 5 games. They've beaten these teams. They've beaten San Francisco, Kansas City, Indianapolis, the Dolphins, Seahawks. They're beating teams that they need to beat. The Bills are just that good. And he only has 1,200 yards. passing in the last 5 games with 8 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So you look at interceptions, you're like, man, I mean, he ain't really the stats in it. No, it's just what he's able to do to get his team to win these big games. Now San Francisco, you might not put up there in one of the best teams this year, but they beat Kansas City. The only team to beat Kansas City this year, so you gotta say something about that. So I mean, and like I said, right now he's the favorite to win the MVP for this season. Some people may say it should be Saquon. Some people say it should be Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry. All I know is he's leading the race right now. Josh Allen, you're a dog, so welcome to the dogs. Next up, this rookie. I've already talked about 2 rookie players on the offensive side this year, but they've both been quarterbacks. This is a guy who's also made his mark this year and who's in the offensive rookie of the year race. But he's in the AFC in the same division as the other quarterback that I talked about in Bo Nix. He's been the most consistent tight end this year. It's Brock Bowers. Very first year in the NFL, and Brock Bowers is having one of the greatest seasons ever by a rookie offensive weapon for the Raiders. Most receptions. He has 84 catches this year. Most ever for them. And all he needs is 3 catches to break the rookie record of all time for catches in the rookie season. And he has 4 games left to do that. I'm certain that he's going to break that record. He's 4th in yards. 884 receiving yards this year. He's 4th in yards in the league. As a rookie tight end. 4 touchdowns. And like I said, 3 catches away from breaking the tight end record. Just 3. All he needs is 3 catches, and he got it. He could be the first rookie tight end to lead the NFL in receptions in NFL history. He has that ability to do that. He's that close. 84 catches this season right now with 4 games left. He having a phenomenal season. There's not too many people really talking about Brock Bowers. You know, he was a tight end out of Georgia, and they knew he was going to be good. He was drafted 1st round this year, of course, as he deserved to be. And he is playing phenomenal. But you hear more about the quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, more than this guy. And he's played just as good, if not better, and more consistently. It's just that his team is not winning, so you don't really hear about him that much. But let's just say he has been the brightest spot on this team who lost Devontae Adams this season. Whether you say lost or, it was addition by subtraction, whatever you want to call it. We know what Devontae Adams has been in this league, so he's gone. You don't really have a quarterback that's been back and forth this year with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. And this is where we are. So, Brock Bowers, welcome to the dogs. And last but not least, the very last person that I'll be talking about today, former Alabama wide receiver. He was a teammate of Patrick Surtain. We know about the receivers that he was paired with during that time in Alabama. He got drafted by the Denver Broncos, did not have the year. He did not have the career that he needed with there. But this year has been much better than it's been in his entire career. And who knows what it was when it comes to how it is now. It definitely wasn't there when the other quarterback, Deshaun Watson, was there early in the season for the Cleveland Browns. But now that Jameis Winston has taken over, he has skyrocketed from where he was before to where he is now. Jerry Jeudy is the big dog of the week. Now, I get it. It's a loss. He lost the game. However, other than when he lined up against Patrick Surtain, because he only had 2 catches for 20 yards and 3 targets against PS2. Other than that, he had 7 catches for 215 yards and a touchdown on everyone else. So he had a field day in that game. Before that game, Monday night against the Denver Broncos, he was 30th in the league in receiving yards. After that game, where he got 219 yards in receiving, he became 5th in the league in receiving yards this season, just off of that one performance. He leads the entire NFL in receiving yards since week 8. 614 total receiving yards in just 5 games. In one night, he went from 30th to 5th in the league. He had 10 targets and 7 catches against everyone else. And press coverage was only pressed twice during the entire time. So they weren't even being physical with him. So that's where they messed up at. And he was able to use his speed against them. And he dogged them that night. He absolutely obliterated them that night. Jameis Winston also had a great game, 450 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, but he also had 3 picks, and 2 of them were pick sixes. So no, Jameis was not going to be put in this today. But Jerry Jeudy definitely deserves to be called the dog of the week because of what he's done, what he did Monday night, and what he's done over the last 5 games. 614 yards receiving in the last 5 games, 219 in the touchdown, which is the second most in a game this season. The only person that has more is the person leading the league in receiving yards, and that's Jamar Chase. So I think it's without a doubt that he deserves to be called the big dog for this week. So, Jerry Jeudy, you are the big dog of the week for episode 45. And that concludes episode 45 for me. Thank you for tuning into Dave's Doghouse. Again, my name is David. You can find me on Facebook as David McFadden, McFadden. That's where you find me there. For Instagram, put Dave's Doghouse, DAVES DAWG HOUSE _ That's on Instagram. That's where you'll find me there. And thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate our comments. Make sure you tune in to R2L, which will be live in about 28 minutes. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. See you guys next time. And peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.